Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining me in the locker room on this Thursday, December 14th. I'm Alan Locher. Lionel Cole, the platinum selling and internationally acclaimed entertainer, is joining me today to tell us about his upcoming show, making his Broadway debut with his Cole Legacy Band at the iconic 54 Below on Thursday, December 21st, where he will take an elegant stroll down memory lane, tapping into new interpretations of your favorite songs from the 1930s to today. Lionel will share stories about his time in the music industry, working with his idols, and growing up in the iconic Cole family. Lionel, an American soul with a jazz heart and blues attitude, will bring his smooth baritone voice along with his band to 54 Below for all to enjoy. He is from a storied musical family, as he is the son of Freddy Cole, a Grammy-nominated jazz vocalist. He is the nephew of Nat King Cole and the cousin of Natalie Cole. Lionel's music includes over 300 original works, performances with countless musical heavyweights such as Mariah Carey, Randy Jackson, and Joss Stone, as well as producing numerous television and film compositions. He has also been featured as part of Robert Downey Jr.'s band. After an extended tour in Australia, he is currently making his way through North America with performances in Georgia, South Carolina, and next Thursday, the 21st, right here in the Big Apple. Please help me welcome the incredibly talented Lionel Cole to the locker room. Hey, Lionel.
Hey, man, you got me blushing over here. The little sweat you see is blush. You know?
I love that. I love that. It's such a pleasure to meet you.
It's great to meet you, man. You've been very kind in our communication, and I'm really happy to be here talking to you.
Thank you. And we must thank our mutual friend, John Fedinich.
Johnny, thank you so much for all that you do for everybody. But thank you for taking the time to really look out for me in this way.
He's a good soul. And the two of you first met on the cross-cultural program Up With People.
It's true. I was 17.
Long time ago. Because I know John's real age.
I know mine too.
For people who don't know, will you share what Up With People is, and what was that experience like for you at such a young age?
Well, it was really cool for me. Up With People is a multicultural, imagine a Peace Corps where you sang, you know, so we went from country to country and state to state, and we put on a show and we do social service, and we put forward a positive energy and messaging that cross-culturally through all of the kind of allies in the United States, we could move the world forward by making music and by showing camaraderie and community spirit. And it was really cool because I had worked for the government as a kid as a computer programmer, and Max Cleland, who was my mentor, he got me a full ride to Annapolis, and I freaked out. So I got a call from Up With People, and they were like, "Why don't you take a year and think about your life?" And it was the best year ever. I mean, I met John, I met Tara Gorman, who has really helped make this record happen, and incredibly so. Like, I mean, this is the thing Up With People do. Like, there's like 20 people who played on these two records that are out, right? Tara just decided she was going to buy tickets for every single one, like, just because she wanted them to be at the show. Like, I mean, these are the kind of people that I met at in Up With People. It's amazing. And then Tara introduced me to our executive producer, Hazem El-Irani, Dr. Hazem El-Irani. And and he's bought tickets for the band and their wives to sit down at the table and be in the audience before we walk out on stage. Like, it's just beautiful. I mean, I'm just a little independent artist. I got a big name, but I'm just a little guy, and to have
that,
amazing.
The fact that you met all of these people at that time, it shows the connection that Up With People, and it also shows the connection, not maybe as much Up With People, but music. What music truly brings people together.
Well, when you mix music with family, I think you get something special. Like all the guys who are playing in New York are all guys who actually knew my father better than I. I mean, I left the house at 17. And some of those guys have been playing with my dad since then. And so it's such a mind trip, you know, like thinking about all of the history I get to learn from my fellow brothers, and the love that I get, and the basis I get to be myself because of the people I know for so long who don't let me get away with not being myself. You know,
That's awesome. Well, you just
I'm
arrived.
still wearing my kilt, you know, like I got people who believe in me enough to understand, you know.
Well, you just arrived last week from Sydney.
Mm.
How did you end up in Sydney, and what do you love about Australia that keeps you there?
Oh wow! Well, I was a multi-instrumentalist for Ricky Lee Jones, you know, Chucky's in Love.
Yeah.
And we had a little three-piece band, and I was playing drums and keys and singing and guitar at the same time most of the time. And it's a funny, Freddy story, actually. It's online somewhere. It's hilarious. Anyway, we got to Sydney to the Opera House, and she decided she wanted me to end one of the songs by playing drums, keyboards, and singing at the same time. And they all faded out. I did it. I got a standing ovation. She got up to the mic. She goes, "That's Lionel Cole from Chicago." I'm from Brooklyn. He's amazing. It's not his effing show. That's what she says at the Opera House main stage. And then she turns to me and she says, "Lionel, if you're so effing great, you do the next song." So I went up stage. I sang the next song. She kicked me off. The head of the Opera House, I guess, was a fan. We started dating. We got married, and
the rest is history.
Yeah. We're now divorced, but you know, she's done well. She was the first female CEO of Surfside Life Saving Australia. Like, I don't know, it's good. The people I'm around, whether they're for a time, a season, or a reason, are amazing.
Well, I love the way you just put that with words. It was beautiful. Talk about Australia. You know what?
Well, the music scene's amazing. I've really been lucky. Albert Dowdon, known as Albert, has become a real friend, and we do a lot of work in Melbourne with him and his people. I've got an amazing young protege, Matthew Dino. He's 14, and he's somewhere between Michael Jackson and Bruno Mars. Incredible talent, writes his own songs. You know, I've got amazing friends like John Harkins, the amazing piano player, and Daniel Moore, and all these amazing folks there who look out for me and, you know, set me in these beautiful clubs with my friends like Lazy Bones and stuff. And we've created a bit of an interesting American culture in the Sydney scene. And that's really fun to do. You know, I grew up in, you know, prep schools and stuff, so I was used to being spot. You know, but like, and being a country where, you know, your spot, you have to do something about it by spot, you know, being different. You know, so it's really a challenge and a beautiful challenge to break through and touch people where you're not from.
That's awesome. I turned 60 in about 2.5, 3 years, and that's going to be my 60th Sydney.
Hey, so we will party together.
Definitely coming down under. My sister is there right this second.
No way.
Yeah, she's in Sydney right now with her husband. They've been there for a couple of weeks, and they come home at the end of this week.
Well, at the end of this, I'll give you a couple places to go by. My friend Craig at Lazy Bones would love to see him and buy him.
I don't know what their plans are, but yeah, definitely. 1 week from tonight, Broadway debut at 54 Below.
No, right? How excited am I? I mean, you know, like I said, I'm so excited. It's, you know, we're going to be featuring my Christmas record, or Lionel in the Club.
4 days before Christmas. Perfect.
Right. And yes. And I've also found out, I got to show you this. This is amazing. When my dad was my age, he made his first Christmas record. And so I found a box of these. These are called 45s. And
I know people watching may not know what
they
are.
It's a 45. And my uncle gifted me with a few boxes of them. So they'll be on sale along with Canceled
Christmas.
I hope my commercial's okay. I feel pretty good about it.
So you're gonna do music from Canceled Christmas and With Love next week.
Exactly. And with love. And this I talk about with love because it's a tribute to my father, and we've dedicated it to my nephew who has recently been murdered, unfortunately. But he was there while we were making this record and taking care of my dad, who decided he wanted to go out on the road like a cowboy. He wanted to die on the road. So I stopped my career a few years ago, and I went out and took care of him, and we went all over the world, and he went out like the champ he was. And I was really proud to be there with him. And so this is the record that came out of that, using his band and his old arrangements and a few of mine, you know.
And tell us about the Canceled Christmas album. I loved listening to some of the songs. Terrific.
Well, it's a bit cheeky, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the real theme of it is tell the truth, right? You know, so, you know, look at it for what it is. Celebrate the joy of the season, not the joy of like whatever particular thing, you know, really the gumbo of it. You know, my favorite quote from the record is Happy Merry Rama Kwanzaa Hanukkah.
Yeah.
You know,
It's a great track.
come on, man. Like, you know, we should, it's just about being grateful and not being full of it, you know, and just and trying to graciously tell the truth. I promised my kids I would never lie to them, so I couldn't write a record about Santa Claus without telling the truth.
So speaking of grateful, what are you most grateful for?
Honestly, I'm grateful to be breathing, you know, because it gives me one more chance to do one more good thing, you know. Like I'm really grateful for breathing. I was very, very ill for very long, and I'm just so grateful for that. And to breathe and to be in the presence of people who love you, you know, whether that be afar like this or close up, is everything. I'm so lucky, you know. I can't even tell you. I hope you can see it. It's like
You can feel it. You can feel it.
There's no words for it. You know what I mean? Like, you know, the people in Australia that look out for me, you know, Laura and Miriam. I'm just the luckiest guy you can meet, you know. Like
And how are you feeling today? You feeling healthy?
I feel so pumped up. It's amazing. I had this what do they call it? A cardio version, right? And so essentially what they kill you and they bring you back, right? So this is the new me. Like this is like Lionel 5.5, right? So I'm pretty excited. You know, the upgrade seemed to go well. The download didn't take too long. You know, I've become mostly vegan and dropped like 17 kilos. So like, yeah.
Wow. Awesome.
Yeah,
Bravo.
thank you very much. Thank you. At
Bravo.
one point in my life, I was almost 500 pounds. So it's been a long, yeah. In fact, when I was with Mariah, I was
something to be proud of and talk about for sure.
Yeah.
But you know, we have to talk about music. So
come on, talk to me.
For me, what is your earliest memory of music and understanding the incredible talent that was in your family, starting with your dad down to your cousin?
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm going to break that into pieces.
Okay, go right ahead.
Here's the first piece. When I was really little, my parents moved from New York to Puerto Rico and then to Atlanta, right? So by the time I got to Atlanta, I was this little New York kid speaking Spanish in the middle of Georgia. So it was a little strange. And my dad, he would have band rehearsals at the house and, you know, these giant parties. And I was pretty much like I am now at 3, like, you know, what do they used to call us? Not impetuous, but, you know, or persnickety. But I was one of those kids who was always asking questions. So I would listen to them play.
The Inquisitor.
In truth.
Yeah.
And so I would listen to the music, and then I would sneak out of bed and hide under my dad's legs at the piano and watch the band play. And you could see the thought go around the room. Like you could see them, they'd be playing something, there'd be no charts. My dad hadn't called a key or a song. And you could see all the guys in the band at the same time go, hey, we should take this somewhere else. And then they would just do it. It wasn't the arrangement. It was just, they felt it all together as one and they did it. And I looked up and I went, I want to do that. I want to be around people who talk with their minds. That's what I want to do for the rest of my life. And that's why I make music. And I figure, I'll never sell the records that Natalie did. I'll never change the world like Nat, right? But I was
You don't
really,
know that.
well, I feel like I've done my part, like I write songs. I got to do the Star Spangled Banner for, uh, you know, the after 9/11 at the Super Bowl with Mariah. Like that's a pretty big moment in the world. And that's my arrangement. And, if that's my part of my legacy with the family, and how I carry the torch, then I'm proud of how I carry the torch. I don't need to do what they did. I just need to be me, and remind people that it's worth it to actually believe that music can make a change and a difference in the world. And because that's what I truly believe. I know that the waveform of music and compassion is the only answer.
I definitely agree. Music is.
So when did I figure out my family was big? Probably one of the times I was on the road with Up With People, when I went into a town and it said, it's supposed to be Up With People, right? But on the billboard it said, coming to town, Nat King Cole's nephew, Natalie Cole's cousin, Freddy Cole's son, Up With People, Lionel Cole. And I went, okay, this is a different world, right?
Definitely different world.
Academia now. I'm in the real world. Here we are.
I love that. You're under dad's legs and you're listening and you're watching and you realize you want to do this. But when did you realize you had the talent? When did you feel you?
I think I suffered imposter syndrome a long time in my life. I was an actor very young. I did my first stage play at 6. I had my first national TV show at 9. So I think I was quite afraid to step into that deeply shadowed world. But the piano was my best friend from when I was like 7 years old. And the drums before that, right? So I started playing drums when I was 3, and there's video of me somewhere at like 2 in New York playing the piano, well, it's not video, it's Super 8 film, I'm 55,
Yep.
but it's real. Yeah, my whole life, I knew, my mom used to tell me, I like I said, I worked for the government. I went to these high class schools and I went to Northwestern, all that stuff, right? My mom was like, you got this big giant brain. You could do anything in the world. Why music? And I'm like, Mom, it's the only thing in the world where you can touch everybody and hurt nobody.
Ooh, beautifully said. Anyone who plays the piano, this is my take. You literally, with those, 10 fingers, can walk in the room and change the mood immediately.
It's amazing what Vienna sausages can do. It's amazing.
It really, you walk into a room and you literally change the entire atmosphere and mood of people around. You talk about your dad, Freddy Cole.
Thank you for that, by the way. That's real. Like, that's my real intention, It's all
I believe it. I think it's magic what somebody can do with just a few keys, absolutely.
Thank you.
I wish I did it at some point.
Hey, your dad, what you do is huge. Like, I have a radio show too on American Airlines called Center Stage, and like I've just been amazed at how much I've learned from other musicians and beautiful people about this and the specialness and the sacredness of the conversation.
Correct. When I started this, I started it to sort of cheer people up at the beginning of the pandemic.
Indeed.
But then I do realize we all learn from each other.
Yeah.
And that, like you said, from the art of conversation, it's and especially with the world around us, it's more important now to sit, to listen, to learn, and share.
I agree, brother. You couldn't say that any better. So you were trying to talk about my dad before.
Your dad, Freddy Cole. You describe him as the hippest and swinginest cat in the world. Is it easy, difficult to articulate what you think you learned from him?
well, if I was trying to be like him, if he were here right now, he'd be like that boy Lionel. He's a little crazy, but he's got the music in him. It's what it's about. That was my dad. And he was like the coolest gangster you'd ever know. Like straight up New York gangster, amazing musician. Like he was the hardest sensei I've ever had. Like I wasn't allowed to listen to the radio until I was 8 years old.
You were not allowed to listen to pop music until you were 8 years old.
Like, period. Like I would literally get a beating if they found me listening to it, right? So I could listen to my dad's record collection, classical music, or Muzak, if you ever remember that, right?
I do, yeah.
My pops would come back off the road and he'd say, "Hey, son, what's this?" Right? I'm like, "Oh, it's Wynton Kelly playing with Miles Davis, 1957," right? And if I were right, the next day on AM radio, we'd be driving to breakfast and the DJ would go, "This one's for Lionel Cole for getting all the answers right from his dad, Freddy, his new favorite song." And that was, my dad was it was a rough sensei, but it really taught me how to think about the magic of music, not the technical side. I learned the technical side in college and all of that, and had beautiful instructors, and really started thinking about how film and television came together, and was part of that Medill school that was built there, that focuses on that. Like that's based on my ad hoc degree, at Northwestern. But the magic is what it's about. I met one of my dearest friends, Michael Kroll, in college, and he showed me how to, turn that into public service. And we started, doing lecturing. And then eventually I got a Fulbright grant from that to do that all over the world based on his work and my work. And, Michael's incredible. He's the head of Bing. His dad started Young and Rubicon. There's just beautiful people in the world who believe in energy and energy exchange. And that's all I'm trying to do. And music is the easiest, most beautiful way to do it, because the truth needs no explanation.
That's incredible. You described Dad as your sensei, but he really was, right? I mean, you did karate. Do I have that right? Or martial arts?
I studied Ninpo Jiu-Jitsu for almost 30 years under Sensei Chadwick Minge. And I've been to Japan twice to study under Hatsumi Sensei before he retired as Kancho. And my cousin or my godbrother, Billy Restuccia, is like 10th Dan. And so most of my life I've been studying these martial arts. And
was your dad actually teaching you martial arts?
No, my dad was looking at me like, "What's wrong with you, boy? Why you out there hitting that tree? What the tree do to you?" But as far as being a hardcore sensei about studying art, I was lucky I had him to be my, I guess he wouldn't be Mr. Miyagi. Who was the other guy? The other sensei. My dad was like the other sensei in Karate Kid.
Okay.
Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
I'm a little more Mr. Miyagi. You know what I mean?
That's so funny. So before you were allowed to listen to pop music, who were some of your musical idols or the people you loved listening to that Dad turned you on to?
Oh, well, it was crazy. Carmen McRae, I loved a lot. And anybody I said I loved, then I got to meet. So then Carmen came to the house. Frank Sinatra, I loved a lot. And so Frank came to my 8th birthday party. And,
my mother would have died and gone to heaven.
He drew me a Lionel train, from Your New Uncle he wrote on it. I've still got it. Like, it's insane, and, Billy Eckstein, taught me what to drink before I go on stage. Lionel, if you're going to be a baritone, make sure you have Grand Marnier and Cavassier before you sing every time, son. So it was amazing. I had that. Bill Evans is Oscar Peterson, Chet Baker. I mean, the list is innumerable. Yeah, I mean, Samuel Barber blows my mind as a composer. Debussy, Tchaikovsky. I don't know. Paul Buckmaster. Yeah, I mean, Neo. I mean, like there's really no part of music I don't love. Like I even made a country record for my mom once, you know, and moved to Nashville for a while, you know. So I love music, and it's because I was constricted into this small space that was so technical that by the time the world opened up, and I think What's Going On was the first pop song I ever heard, right?
And who sang that?
Marvin Gaye.
Okay.
And so I actually in the show I do a tribute to that, like, and I say what would have been like if Nat had lived long enough to work with Marvin Gaye. So we do What's Going On, and then we swing in the bridges, you know what I mean? So it kind of crossed it a little bit. Yeah. So yeah, that
I love that you remember the first
synthesis of the arts, and every art I study goes like this. It's a never-ending way going up. You know, the martial art and the music. You never, you know, you may get mastery, but you're never done learning. You know.
Huh. But I love that you remember the first pop song.
It's true.
But, you know, when you're restricted and not allowed, it has probably a greater impact once that world opened up for you, like you just said.
Yeah, it was very, very powerful. And yeah, and then it was really fun, like trying to convince my dad to listen to popular music and watch that change his career, you know, and
Oh,
make
wow.
me get up and get out of the house to do what I believed in. So I wouldn't be a disappointment to them, because they thought that I was bound to be jazz's crown prince, and I wasn't. I didn't see myself there. I thought that maybe I could be the nerdiest, sweetest gangster, I love all music guy, you know, and that's what I'm trying to be, and that's what I do. And I'm glad my dad kicked my butt.
Well, that's what I was just going to ask you. Are you glad that he did restrict what you listened to up until that point? Now that you have the foresight to look back.
Oh yeah, I was talking to my dear friend Roxanne, and I think because of the people around me, my hindsight is 2010, and so I look back and I can see that every step is like a Garth Brooks song. It's terrible. It's like unanswered prayers, right? Every step along the way, man, is just truly ordained. And yeah, I'm really glad my dad was who he was. And I was really glad that I got to spend the end of his life getting to know the man he was then, and being able to let go of the man he was that I grew up with. And raise him.
Yeah, you know, I was going to ask about that later, but talk about that. Having, you know, your dad basically called you up and said, you know, he wanted to go out on the road for the last 2 years of his life.
Well, my mom had just died, and my dad was actually too sick to do some gigs, and the family was in dire need. And so I just stopped what I was doing and I took over for him. And then we nursed him back to health. And then we got him back on the road where he wanted to be. And I stood by his side. And, you know, we did a bunch of shows together all over the world. And when he couldn't go, I went for him. And I don't know. I feel really blessed. That's why I made this With Love record. I wanted people to know that, you know, even though our royalty may be illusionary, like I take it quite seriously that there's a responsibility to those who believe in the Cole family to do things the right way. And, you know, there's no way you don't honor the patriarch. He was the king at that point. You know, he had to wait a long time to get out from under the shadow of his brothers. So, you know, it's only right to do. So it was amazing. It was incredible.
And his brother was younger, older? I just heard you say this, and I'm sorry, I'm blanking.
Yeah, my pops was. They called him Dinky. So he was the last to come out, right? So when Nat was 100, my dad was 87.
Yeah, see, I just heard you describe that. That's wild.
Crazy, right?
But what a gift to have that time with your dad. I mean, what a gift.
No, it's amazing. It's amazing. But you know, I'll use this to say the one thing I have learned just in general, like a gift is a gift, pain is pain, love is love, sharing is sharing. And like, I don't know that I believe in that whole idea of magnitude anymore. Like, I think that if I can keep my heart open, everything can be a gift on the highest level. and can be received on the highest level. So, and actually I came to that out on the road with my dad, you know, because the personal conflict of, you know, I'm not 17, he's not 50 something, you know, he's an old man, I'm a grown man. Let me just be a good friend to this guy. Let me see what he's like. Let me get to know him. Let me enjoy who he is, not who he's supposed to be, you know. And it really helped change and shape my life view.
Oh, I love that. And who he is today in comparison too. Big difference, you know.
Yeah, I think he'd be laughing if he had lived long enough to hear I shot Santa Claus. I think I think, well, he would do this. He'd go, That's exactly what he'd do.
That's wild. So you talked about people coming, you know, to the house. You tell the story, Herbie Hancock. I mean, you know, not only growing up as a Cole, where you're learning from all these talented folks, your dad, your uncle, your cousin. What did you learn from Herbie and Frank and all the people who were coming through the door? Is there something that stands out that someone shared or imparted your way?
I guess the real thing, and I said my dad was hard, right? But I think he actually understood me. And no matter where I was, he told me to always play my music, to play the stuff that came out of my heart. And every time someone would come see me, whether it be Herbie or, you know, Monty Alexander was a big supporter for a while. And they would come and they'd sit down with me and they'd be like, why did you do that? Where were you going here? I've never heard that, you know? And I'm like, well, this is just how I think, you know, and they would say, yeah, your father told us to come listen to you, you know? So, you know, I learned to really trust myself. Like, I think the night I was 12 and we were in New York and we were going to Bradley's, which is no longer there, right? And,
I remember Bradley's.
Right? And
yeah.
My uncle George Benson was driving us around in his Bentley, right? And we go over to Bradley's and George and Dad walk in and it's like, you know, it's the Brecker brothers or whatever. And everybody's bowing down to them. And I'm this giant 12-year-old, right? Walking behind them. And they both look at me and go, okay, kid, up on stage, right? Like right as we walk in the club, right? And I walk up and I'm looking at these cats. It's like my first New York experience with like really playing on stage. And my dad goes, just play one of your songs, boy, they'll catch up. And it was really beautiful. And I got done. It was like the song, and I wrote when I was like 8 that my dad recorded later, right? And it was so quiet, right? When I was done, I was sure I had bombed. I was sure. So I started to sneak off the stage. And as I was walking off the stage, I started hearing the applause, right? Like people were shocked. I had no idea, right? And Randy Brecker came up to me and he says, you know, it's a tough road having your father, but you're going to do all right, kid. Just don't forget who you are. And that's essentially what everybody told me. Just keep being myself. So
That's awesome.
Here I am, you know.
Well, now you have me thinking and hearing in my head George Benson's on Broadway as you're about to go do Broadway.
Dun, ding, ding, ding. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that
neon lights are bright on Broadway. Anyway.
I mean, that's got to be exciting for you, Broadway.
Oh man, it's cool. Like I said, I started as an actor, so like both sides of me are like totally excited. The musical side of me is excited, the actor side, the little musical theater nerd in me who, you know, always wanted to play
the kid from New York.
Yeah, I'm saying it's like it's everything. And that they believed in me. They decided to take a chance on me. Like I'm an unsigned artist. I got a big name, you know, as a family, and I've done some big things, but you know, everybody on this tour, they decided to trust me and believe in the music that they heard, and you know, and that's amazing. I mean, we made it all the way to final Grammy consideration with these records, and I don't have a record label. I mean, I'm my record label, you know, and you know, it's just beautiful. I can't get my head around coming home to such love.
Well, talk about the struggles of an independent artist. You know what?
Yeah, it's interesting to go from a rock star life to a monk's life, but I really enjoy being Musashi on the mountain. You know, I really enjoy sharpening my swords and practicing my craft in a humble way. And it's really cool to come down off the mountain and make music. But you have to be willing to really sacrifice if you're going to do it yourself, you know, which means by sacrifice, you have to sacrifice your ego and realize it's collective that makes things happen. So, like John made this happen and New York happened, and, Tara Haslam, Laura, the Ad Infinitum, Mike McGinnis. I mean, so many people, Randy Jackson, guys who really believed in me and gave me a chance for my quirky little voice to make a difference. It takes collective, and so if people don't know it, 5 friends who really believe in you and you can change the world. That I've found out more than once in more than one business. And I believe that truly in the bottom of my heart. And so, yeah, it's tough, but it's also really exciting. It's exciting. It's exciting to see, what that song you played, right? It's been up 3 days. It's in my buddy's front room. It's like 5,000 people have watched it. Like, I'm so excited that people maybe want to hear what I have to say. Like, it's kind of fun, like, 'cause I don't know. I got a lot to say,
You've been doing it a long time, so it's so infectious to see your excitement.
Oh, thanks, man. Thank
And
you.
and you talked about, being under Dad's legs, listening to him and watching him rehearse and deciding that's what you want to do. But then you did go off to college.
I did.
When did you truly know that you would, try to make music your career? Was it, from that young age, or were some other things coming?
Well, I was obviously prettier as a child, so I had more acting jobs. But it's but no, music was always, like I said, music was always my best friend. And I think I just finished this symphonic work for the Maryland Lyric Opera, which unfortunately is closed now. But I think that makes like my 1,300th piece of music that I've written now. And I I never gave up on music no matter what I was doing. Like, no matter what it was, I was still always gigging in every town. I was still, after college, I went into the jingle business with my buddy Michael, and we had a weird little jingle company, and we did like Cheezosaurus Rex, and, like 1-800 Cable Me. Remember cable TV? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I'm old. So yeah, I don't know. I always loved it, friend. It's really part of living and breathing. It's just like like I say, art to me, like whether it be martial music, verbal, spiritual, metaphysical, art is everything. And I think through art we can change the most lives and make the most difference. And that's what I care about.
Would you still want to act?
Oh yeah. I think I'm still a big enough ham to pull it off.
I'll buy that. I'll buy that.
I'm really enjoying the hosting gig. I really am. The American Airlines gig is great. We had Aloe Black on last week, and both Noah Khan and LaFay got Grammy nominations this year, and Leon Bridges got started on my show. And I don't know. I feel really good about that too. What you do, like I just want to express my joy for this beautiful life on anybody who will listen, and when the sadness comes, say it truly, let it out, and then transform it, alchemize it into vibrations that are healing, and that usually comes through singing and playing nowadays. So.
And like I said, with the world around us today, we need healing. So keep doing that. What was the first song you wrote? Do you remember?
Oh, yes. It's on this record. It's not on. Well, hold on. Is it on this record? Let me see. Let's see. Is About Anything on this record, or is it on the next record? Okay, so on the next Swingers Club record, it's called Down Home. It's not going to come out next year, but it'll come out here. Anyway, it's a song called About Anything. And I was 4 years old, and I was at the National Bank of North America, which is in New York, right? Or used to be back in the day. And my godfather, William Restuccia, right? The other martial arts, the father of the other martial arts that I'm with, right? We're in his office. He's the president of the bank, right? And he had the prettiest secretary. Oh my God. She was so beautiful. Ay, ay, ay. And so anyway, I grabbed a piece of paper and I wrote a song, and I'll share it with you. It went like this: I'll do about anything for you. You're the one I love. I'll do about anything for you. You're the one I love. I'd climb the highest mountain. I'd even set atop a cloud. Oh, I'd do about anything for you. You're the one I love. So that's the first song I ever wrote. 4 years old.
That's crazy. And you're now recording it for your next one.
Yep.
That's love that.
Kind of fun,
you know,
right?
you just said 1,300. How do you keep track?
I have a spreadsheet. And actually I haven't updated the spreadsheet in 2 years. So I usually write 2 to 3 things a week. So I'm probably a little further along than I think right now. Probably another 80 songs or 80 pieces of music since then.
2 to 3 a week. Does it just come to you? Or do you come up with an idea?
Well, when I say 2 to 3 a week, sometimes it's an arrangement, sometimes it's a co-write, and sometimes it's a brand new song. But my output averages about 2 or 3 songs a week if you average it out, you know. And you know, sometimes it's like I said, I've been working on this opera for the last year and a half. So you know, and one of the pieces is something I've been working on since like junior year in college. And it's 5.5 movements in 15 minutes. So yeah, I don't know. I just keep it flowing, and Macintosh tells me how many titles are in there. And
yep, that's good. You got to keep track.
Put them to work, buddy. You know. So
yeah, I mean that you got to keep doing it.
yeah.
You know, talk about some of the challenges, you know, along the way that you faced in the music industry, and that maybe came from being a member of your own family.
Well, yeah, a lot of people thought that well, because of the way I talk and the way I'm educated, that I was like a classically trained cat, right? But I didn't go to classical music until I got to college. Like I literally took voice lessons for like 6 weeks before college auditions, and then I auditioned. But I was a choir boy, you know. Ray Chenault was my choir teacher, and you know, I was his problem child, and you know. But the real challenge for me has been finding and accepting myself, like really defining me as a human being, as opposed to a member of the Cole family or a member of the music community. Like the one gift that really showed me myself, right, in my own. I know you said troubles, but I want to turn that into a positive, if that's all right. Like,
please do.
Mariah, we were on this big, huge world tour, and I'd just written her comeback song and all this stuff with her, and everything was going cool. And we were playing Red Rocks. We were about to play Red Rocks.
I've been there. I love that.
Isn't that a great venue, right?
Oh,
and my song is like #1 with her, and it's like my first time having this experience. And I was sad. I was away from my family, and I felt really disconnected, and like the world was going by, and the shows weren't going as well. So she brought this shaman out from Puerto Rico, right? And he says, okay, we got 3 nights in Red Rocks. He says, Mariah and I want you to know who you really are. He says, so tonight, just do as you normally have been doing. Don't change. Don't try, you know? And we did. And he says, watch the crowd. He says, now, the next night, go out. pay no attention at all, just focus on the music. Okay, I did that. And it was like a little better show, right? It wasn't in my own head. And then he says, now, last night, be the real you. I know you know all the dances, so dance with the dancers, sing with the singers. And every time I hit a note or sang something or made a move, the crowd went nuts, right? And then after all that was over, the shaman says, Mariah wants you to know, you are as special as anyone else on that stage. You make as much of a difference. Now, for someone like that, to send someone to say that to you, right? And I'll give you one more story along that line. At the halftime of the Super Bowl, right? After the Boston Pops, because Boston actually said no.
And just to repeat it, you composed the music for the Star Spangled Banner for Mariah after
I arranged the Star
Spangled.
Yeah, I did the arrangement, right? And Paul McCartney was doing halftime, right? And so I'm sitting in the box by myself. Again, this is before Red Rocks, right? So I still feeling a bit of imposter. And Paul comes and sits right down next to me, right? Right before he's going on stage, and he says, Lionel, and then I'm like, yes, sir,
Right, sir.
And he says, I know you think you're a ghost. You think no one in Hollywood or no one in the business knows who you are, but we know who you are. We know what you're doing, and we believe in you. And then the whole entourage crashed down around us, and I got sent to get coffee and whatever. But these couple of experiences you can't deny, when the universe shows you. And I have some real friends that treat me just like that. That mean just as much as those famous names I mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Why they got mentioned way before those guys did. I mean, God bless him and Paul. I adore you both. But pain is pain, love is love, and support is support. And I've just been really blessed to have so much love and support come my way. And yes, there's been a ton of pain, and we could make a whole show of the pain. But I hope that this shows, the depth of my joy reflects the amount of my pain. Maybe that's the best way to put it.
Well said. Well, speaking of Mariah, how did you first connect with her? What was it like touring the world with her and then writing a #1 song?
Well, it was 9/11, and I'm watching TV, and the plane hit the tower, and my phone rang, literally. And I picked up the phone. I'm like, hello? And it was Randy Jackson. And Randy and I were writing partners for 20 years. He says, what are you doing? I said, watching the world explode. What's going on? He's like, I need you in the studio right now. So before the second plane hit the tower, I was in the car going to the studio, right? I get to the studio. There's this pretty girl in the corner. I wasn't thinking much about it. My brain's kind of blown. I'm like, what's happening? They hand me this piece of music. They say they want this arrangement. I make this arrangement, and I leave, right? And as I'm leaving, Randy says, well, what are you doing tomorrow? I'm like, well, this couple booked a wedding, the world just blew up. I guess I'm going to do their wedding if they still want to get married. I get back from the wedding, and on TV is Tribute to Heroes, with Tom, and all those guys, right? Mm-hmm. And there's that pretty girl, Mariah Carey, singing my arrangement. Just as it gets done, I get a call from Randy Jackson. He says, so what are you doing next week? I said, whatever you say, Mr. Jackson. And he formally introduced Mariah and I, and we got on like a house on fire. And I was really lucky. I kind of got known in Hollywood as the guy to go to when you were down, because I always like to find the silver lining. And and that's why I was Robert Jr. That's how all that happened, right? And so Mariah was no different. And so we spent a lot of time together in New York, and I love her to the bottom of my heart, which is why I did that version of All I Want for Christmas with the strings. And it's like a love letter. It's like, I love you, baby. I do. I always will. I always have, yeah, it was amazing. It's been an amazing ride. And I found that because of the depth of my pain and the depth of my experience, the amount of joy that I can help other people see in themselves is tremendous. And I try to do that for everybody I meet, everybody on stage, and everybody in the audience, you know, and whether it's 1 or 1 billion, it doesn't matter to me, you know. I just want somebody to feel it.
Oh, well, you know, and you've been doing this so long. I mean, you formed a band with Malcolm Jamal.
Yeah, that was fun. Miles Long.
You were with Robert Downey's band.
Yep. That was
You
fun.
know?
Yeah, I've been really, really lucky. I've been incredibly, incredibly lucky, and a lot of really talented people have trusted me to help them find their voice, and I feel very, very blessed by that. You know,
I was going to say that's gotta feel pretty great when you're able to help somebody find their voice, and
it is,
you
great.
know, and also, you know, and then, you know, with Mariah, a #1 song. How did you find out? Do you remember finding out it was #1?
They said it on the radio when I was driving down the road, and I just flipped out. I was like, "What the world?" Like, you know, it's like it's like in my. I guess that was like Lionel 3.3 or something like that. You know?
At that time.
Yeah, and you know, that guy drove like a '69 Camaro convertible, and I'm driving down the road, and they're playing the song, and I'm crying. You know, I'm just a big blubbery mess. You know, and just to think that it could touch so many people, right? You know, that's pretty powerful, right? And to touch people with such a positive message, you know, that's
and that was Through the Rain, correct?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, so yeah, that was awesome. I gotta say, I've had many more awesome experiences with music than I've had not awesome experiences with music. And sometimes on giant stages and sometimes in tiny bars, and they all feel the same. They feel like you're one step away from whatever it is you believe in is God.
Is there a performance or a gig or a country that, you know, you being on that stage was pure magic for you in your view?
Every place. I mean, again, the Super Bowl that at that time was pretty heavy. That was pretty humbling to think of all the millions and talented people around the world that they chose me to be the voice of America standing strong. That's something I can't ignore. Whenever I try to get down on myself, I have to remind myself.
You should just play that version. I played it last night. I listened to it last night, the video of Mariah doing it.
It's special, isn't it?
It is
a special moment.
I know I watched it then, but it's, you know, it's been 21 years, so I had not heard it in a long time. How long does something like that take you to arrange that when you're asked to do it? Is that something that normally comes
easy? Something like that. 12 hours, maybe 3 days at the end of the, you know, and I had a great orchestrator, as I always do, who's able to take my harmonic and melodic ideas and turn them into magic. Right now, I've got Mike McGinnis who does that, and Suthi Orland did it for the Boston Pops, and yeah, I don't know. It's just being in the flow, right? Like because I come from the commercial jingle world, I'm a gunslinger, right? You know, so
yeah,
not taking a lot of time here, you know.
Yeah. What do you need? Time is money.
Yeah, you know.
Time is money. They're asking, yeah, for sure. Yeah. And then, you know, really, you know, I'm sure when you sit back and you think of probably the amount of people who heard that, especially because it was right after 9/11, it had, you know, that's got to overwhelm you in some respect too.
It humbles me. It doesn't overwhelm me anymore, you know. Like, I mean, what's overwhelming, I'll tell you something overwhelming is that there wasn't a Black-owned movie studio since Oscar Micheaux until Tim Reed and I started one, right? And now there's, you know, Kevin Hart and all these human beings that, you know, are all part of the school of Tim Reed, you know, who changed the business again, you know. And, you know, there's all these singers who are part of the school of Mariah Carey, and all these players who are part of the school of Freddie, Nat, and Natalie Cole. And I guess I'm glad I'm one of the senseis. And, you know, every time I get a chance to teach one of their arts, I do, you know?
Well, yeah. How does I mean, really, I mean, we're almost at the end of our time. I love that you just
brought it back quick. Hey,
I know, but I love that you just brought it back to the sensei, because that's really full circle for you. Well, yeah. You know, your dad was your first, and that you're able to impart that now where you are in your life. That's pure magic.
Well, let me give you what my sensei Chadwick Minge would say. He would say, the past does not exist. The future, at best, you know, does not exist. There is only the moment. Take care of the moment, because the moment is eternal. So every second, every breath, we have this chance to be our best selves and to show the best part of ourselves to ourselves first, and then to everybody else. So that's the basis of my martial art. You know, like, I'm hoping that my overwhelming joy keeps me from breaking your arm, you know? Like, it's like, I'm hoping that my overwhelming happiness makes you want to cry from realizing that there's only love in my eyes, you know? That's where I'm coming from, bro. That's what it's about. And that's what we want to share with people. And that's I'm so glad you gave me a chance to share that with you.
And you're going to share it next Thursday. You know, when do you get to the Big Apple? Are you?
We get there on the 20th. We're gonna have a rehearsal downstairs at Mikey's house, and everybody's gonna get together. I just found out that Gabe Tetratino, who's with the Turtle Bay Quartet, is gonna join us on stage there on violin. And I don't know, man. I'm just so excited. It's just
playing. It's
great.
Any time in New York?
I'll be going back up to Shelter Island, where we have a family bar up there that we're selling, or that my uncle's selling. I'm helping him get rid of. And my dear friend Roxanne is up there, and they put me up and counsel me. So I'll be up and around the New York area around Christmas for a little while, and then back down south.
Yeah, and what's it like going home to Atlanta to play?
I'll tell you when I get there.
I know, but like, is that got to be exciting to you?
It's exciting how many people from Atlanta have reached out to me to tell me that they want to come, and Florida and like that area, because I haven't been down there since Dad died, and and I sort of made a promise I wouldn't go back unless I was asked back. So I kind of feel good that I got asked back to New York and asked back to Georgia, and I don't know.
And you're playing the Velvet, what, in Atlanta? The Velvet.
Oh, the Velvet Note, and Velvet Note. And then it's the Gainesville Jazz Festival, although they call it something else now. I can't remember these. That's why I have a collective to help me keep my collective.
And I love that you call them the collective. I need a collective.
Welcome, brother. Welcome.
Lionel, it is such a pleasure to meet you, my friend.
Thank you, brother. It was I really had a good time talking to you.
Break a leg.
I don't know if I answered any of your questions, but I hope.
Say it again.
I don't know if I answered any of your questions, but
you very much did, and you're gonna kill it next week at 54 Below, and you're gonna fall in love with that room.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. And I'm just so, like I said, I'm just so excited. So many people are supporting it, moving forward. And I can't thank those people enough. Thank you guys for believing in me. And we're going to put on a hell of a show for you.
That's awesome. 54below.org for everybody. Lionel, have a wonderful holiday. Say it again.
I said uncancel Christmas with me.
Yeah, exactly. And you have a wonderful holiday.
You too, my brother. Take care. Bye, y'all.
Right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Lionel. Thanks everybody for joining us today. Don't forget, Lionel and the Cole Legacy Band will be at 54 Below next Thursday, December 24th. Visit 54below.org, and the link is down below right here on YouTube. Join me next Wednesday, December 20th, when Jake and Lorette McCook, the son and wife of the Bold and the Beautiful's John McCook, joins me live to discuss their new book, The Cliffs of Schizophrenia. And next Friday, December 22nd, we will salute Soap Opera Digest along with Meredith Berlin, Lynn Leahy, and Stephanie Sloan. If you haven't yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, you can do so down below. Turn on the notifications for reminders of all upcoming shows. And I hope if you like today's episode, you click the like button. And remember, if you like to stream audio versions, just search The Locker Room on your favorite streaming platform. Have a great evening, everyone. And I hope, as always, you stay safe.